this is GIbby. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the MACD indicator today. And MACD is a very popular indicator. The reason I wanted to do the class on the MACD is it is a very popular indicator. A lot of people use it, but it surprises me how little people understand how to use the MACD and how it's calculated and how to interpret it and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a little video, maybe like 7 or 8 minutes, to walk you through exactly what the MACD is, where it's calculated, all that kind of stuff. Let's go ahead and get started. To start off with, Gerard Appel actually created the MACD indicator. He's a famous trader back in the 1970s. He's obviously most famous for actually creating the MACD indicator, but a very famous technician, very good technician, and a top market timer as well. And so he's the creator of the MACD, and he's very famous for it. I want to start off by talking a little bit about kind of what the MACD is. By definition, it's a trend following indicator. And yeah, I'm sure you've heard kind of the euphemisms. The trend is your friend, befriend the trend, rising tide lifts all boats. But generally speaking, trend following is a very, very valid way to trade the market. A lot of the really successful traders that I know use trends to follow the market. So we're going to look at MACD as how it kind of analyzes the trends and how you can determine bullish or bearish. And at heart, it is very much a trend following indicator. The calculation of the MACD is very, very simple. Here I've got a chart up. I've got a chart with a 26-period exponential moving average and a 15-period exponential moving average. If you actually take the value of the 26-period moving average and subtract it for the 12-period exponential moving average, basically what you're going to get is a value that's going to represent the red line, the MACD histogram on the chart here. So that's exactly how you actually that's exactly the calculation you use, but pretty much it's just a subtraction of one moving average from another. Now you'll notice when a stock starts to exhibit a large trend, that gap will widen. When it starts to go really in a direction, and this is why it's used as a trend indicator, it's going to get higher and higher up, whereas if it's going sideways, it's actually going to provide a more shallow difference and a much more shallow indicator. In addition to the MACD calculation, a lot of people that use MACD are going to use what they call a signal line, and this is a very simple indicator as well. Basically, is simply put an exponential moving average, 9 periods usually, that's calculated on the actual MACD value. And so here we've got the MACD value in blue, and right above it we've got the signal line, which is just a 9-period exponential moving average of the signal line. Okay. Now, one of the easiest ways to interpret the MACD is by comparing it to where its signal line is. For example, here, when it's above, when the MACD is actually above its signal line, we would call that a bullish shun. It generally means the stock is moving up, which would make it bullish. When it drops down below its signal line, we would call that a bearish shun. And so this is kind of like MetaStock expert advisor that I've played on the chart, but it's just basically telling you exactly what zone you're in. If it's bullish, and it's going to be above its signal line, which means it's bullish. And if it's down below its signal line, you're going to call it bearish, which means the stock is moving down, and you expect the stock to continue to move down until it becomes bullish again. Now, that's actually also the simplest way to trade this particular MACD indicator. Basically, if it crosses down and we anticipate that the price is going to start to drop and we're bearish on the price, well, then it would make sense to go ahead and take a short position on that price because we expect the price of the instrument that we're looking at to go down. Whereas if it crosses and all of a sudden we're bullish again, we expect the price to go up. And if we expect the price to go up, that's a very good time to go ahead and get in the market. I like to buy when I think things are going to go up. So that's an interpretation to using MACD as a signal to get you in and out of trades. There's another way that people interpret the MACD that actually Dr. Elder calls the most powerful signal in technical analysis, and we call it a divergence method. Normally, in normal circumstances, the MACD is going to follow price. You've noticed I've got the price of this security up here. We've got a very, very dominant uptrend, and you'll notice that I've drawn a trend line from the low of the trend to the top of the trend. I've also drawn a line on MACD where it goes from the bottom to the value, and you'll notice that those lines are moving almost parallel. In other words, they're never going to intersect. That means that basically pricing is moving as expected. What is powerful, though, is when they don't move as expected. Here you'll notice a pretty steep downtrend in price. We come down from a fairly high price, we test support again, and you'll notice that we've got a much shallower decline in MACD. In other words, there's a divergence there. In fact, you'll notice that MACD, when this low was formed, basically was a very low value. When the second low is formed, it's coming down to test that value, and the MACD doesn't even get close to where it was before. And we call that a divergent signal. And you'll notice when that divergence happens, again, this is what Dr. Elder calls the most powerful signal in technical analysis, and I like Dr. Elder, you should read his books. But when that happens, generally that's a signal that in this case, the bears are running out of steam. This support level is going to hold, and that triggers a really good buy signal in the market. And you'll notice that after that divergence happened, we do get a buy signal based on the cross, and the price of the security goes up quite dramatically after that happens. So that's another way to read that. I want to kind of show you how to use a few MACD tools in MetaStock. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into MetaStock and kind of just show you a few things in terms of interpreting the MACD system from directly within the program. Okay, so now I've switched into the MetaStock program. I'm looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF. DIA is the symbol, and I've got an overlay of the MACD in red here and the signal line. I just want to show you a few things that you can do with MetaStock that I think are going to be very, very helpful for you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach what we call an expert advisor. That's this guy right here in the top hat. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that's going to give me a list of different expert advisors that I can attach to a chart. And really what an expert does is it helps you analyze that particular indicator, that system, and tells you exactly what's going on. So to attach it, I'm just going to find the one I want on a list. I click on attach. I'm going to go ahead and click up here on close, and that's going to go ahead and do a few things on the chart. Number one, you'll notice that when we have that cross down below the signal line, or when we have the cross up above the signal line, you're going to have a sell signal that is right on the chart, and a buy signal that shows up right on the chart as well. You'll also notice that as long as it's above its signal line, it's going to be in that bullish zone, and we've got the ribbon that tells you it's in a bullish zone. When it goes back down below its signal line like it does right here, then it's going to give you a bearish zone indication. So it helps you kind of read the indicator. You can even use this instead of a MACD indicator if you wanted to. The other thing that's kind of nice is we do have some commentary. We have commentary associated with all of the experts. To get to the commentary window, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on my chart. I go to Expert Advisor, and then I just click on this button that says Commentary. As soon as I do that, it's going to open up a window as you see over on your left-hand side. You'll also notice that right here on the chart, I've got this triangle that kind of points down. Okay, and all this is telling me is the day that we're looking at for commentary is the current day. I can't actually move that around on the chart. So in other words, if I wanted to see what the commentary looked yesterday, I can go ahead and move that. Or maybe I want to see what it said during this particular sell signal. I can actually just move it to where I want it to be on the chart. Now, here's what it's going to tell us. It's going to actually be looking at those things that we were talking about earlier. Currently, the MACD is bearish since it's trading below its signal line. The MACD crossed below its signal line today. Since the MACD crossed its moving average, the price of this has been unchanged, but it's bearish, and currently it's indicating a sell signal. It also monitors for overbought, oversold conditions, and currently on this particular bar, the MACD is not overbought or oversold. And divergence, remember that most powerful signal in technical analysis, there actually haven't been any divergent signals within the last 5 days. Okay, so we call that the expert advisor. It's a good way to kind of keep track of what happens on your chart. This will update in real time. So what I mean by that, if we did have this come up and cross up above the signal line, we'd get a buy signal in real time, and it would change to a bullish shot. So it kind of helps you keep track of what's going on your chart. There's another tool that I think is very, very handy, and we call that system testing. And to explain system testing, if we were to basically take a look at this chart, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit on it, if we were going to go in here and determine how well of an indicator this is for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it would be fairly easy. I would know that right here there was a MACD buy signal, and that the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at about $133. And then we had a sell signal that happened at about 139. So if we would have followed that, we would have known we would have got in at about 133. If we would have got out when it told us to get out, we would have gotten out at around 139. And so we would have had an average profit of about 6 points. We could do that for every single trade on this chart. In fact, with Reuters, we could go back to the inception of this particular ETF and actually test every single entry and exit and see, is this an indicator that works well for us for having a predictive value or helping us trade successfully? But what we can do instead of that is we can actually do a system test. I'm going to go ahead and run our enhanced system tester here. And to do that, I'm just going to click on our dollar sign. Now again, it's going to give us a list of different methods that we can test. I'm going to come down to the MACD expert system. And to run the test, I just select next. I'd select a group of stocks that I wanted to test. I can test more than one at a time if I want to. In this case, I ran a test against the whole NASDAQ 100. I can go ahead and click on next. And for the purpose of the demo today, I just tested 250 days. This is a daily chart, taking both long-term trades and short-term trades. The other thing that I think is important is it does cost us money to get in a trade, and it costs us money to get out of a trade. And so I did actually tell the system to penalize me $5 to go into a long position and $5 to get out of a long position. And that works for both longs and shorts, by the way, so it would be $5 to go into a short position and $5 to go out. For the purpose of the test, I said, well, okay, let's start with a hypothetical trading account. That trading account I set at $10,000. And there's a number of different ways I could have tested this. Like I could have said buy 100 shares at a time if I wanted to, or I could say I wanted to test based on a transaction cost of $7,500 if I wanted to. I'm a big fan of compound interest. I think Einstein called it the best invention of mankind. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, whatever I've got in my trading account, I want to trade 75% of that. So my first trade of would be $7,500, 75% of $10,000. If I grow that up to $20,000, it would be 75% of that. Now, at this point, I just go ahead and click on OK. I'd click on Start System Test, but I've already run this. So I'm just going to go back, and we can go ahead and look at the report, and I'll kind of show you what it'll tell you. So here's the report I ran was report 21. I'm going to go ahead and click on View. And that's going to give us a summary report. Remember, we tested 100 issues with this. And green bars are good. That means the system actually made money. Red bars mean the opposite. The system or the method, or in this case the MACD, didn't work on those stocks. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on the ones that worked. I'm going to sort based on net profit. I don't want to focus on what doesn't work. I want to focus on what does work. And our best performing system last year was like Seagate Technologies, which is 59% gain. Trading the whole year, taking every signal, it would have traded about 42 turns. Total trades that were profitable were 25 versus about 17 that were unprofitable. Now, there's a whole report that you'd want to go into, and I think it's a little bit beyond the purpose of today's demo, but it does tell you exactly what your drawdowns would look like, what your profitable trades would look like, and there's a lot of really important information that you should look at before you decide you want to trade this. And we have other training videos on kind of how to evaluate system testing and how to pick the best test for you. But there's one other thing that I want to show you before we close out today, and I feel this is a very, very powerful tool. If you like this, now, if you like the MACD as a system, you'll notice that for the last 8 days, we haven't really had a trade. If we would have gotten this about 8 days ago, we would be able to be in a short position, and that short position may not be making us money. But right now, there's not really telling us to do anything. The last tool that I want to show you is what we call our Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to load up, again, a list of different things that we can go ahead and explore for or scan for. And I run it just like I would for the system test. I find the MACD buy signal here. So I want to go through and I want to scan a universe or an instrument of stocks. And I want it to tell me which ones have a signal for today. So I go ahead and click on Next. Again, I just did the NASDAQ 100. Here's a list of them. And I just click on Next, and it would go ahead and run through that test for me. But I've already done that, so I'm going to go back, and I'll show you what the report looks like. The way this will save you time is out of the 100 stocks that were there, 99 of them actually were rejected, and we could actually focus on Amgen as a potential buy opportunity for the next trading day. Now, obviously, you probably want to go in and open up Amgen and take a look at the chart, probably run a system test, see how well the MACD performs as an indicator on Amgen. But it's a very, very powerful tool because, again, we're focusing on the opportunity. It pretty much wraps up the demo on the MACD indicator. Hope that it helps you understand exactly what the MACD is and was helpful for you. Appreciate your watching it. Thanks.